Is it clear now?
Not yet. Not yet. Share it again, please.
Thank you very much, Ms. Amani. Thank you very much for everyone who is here in this session, and welcome. I'm very happy to be with you, and this is my first time to be on Real Azhar Mentor platform. I hope you all benefit from this session, and the topic will be something new for you. Okay, let's start. Can you hear me well?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So let's start with the norms of our session. Of course, please listen carefully to who is speaking and respect to our speaking, and please don't please come in time session in time, and be ready to wear your thinking hat and to share participate in the session. And please, if you want to speak, unmute yourself and make sure you mute your microphone after speaking. Okay?
Okay.
Today's topic is planning your lesson. Step by step. Please make sure your mic is muted. And before we go to the objectives of this lesson, I want to ask you, what do you think the difference between planning your flipped lesson and planning the traditional lesson or planning the traditional learning? Do you think there is a difference? Can anyone share?
Yes, Ms. Asma. Can I share?
Okay.
Hello.
Come on, go on.
Okay, so when we plan a flipped classroom, this is something different because our mainly focus here is technology. So we need to plan something that students, a video they will watch or an activity they will do online. So our main concern here is technology and how to deal with technology. So this is not the
Great.
main focus
Oh,
when
here
we
you're.
prepare. Okay, this is not the same case when we prepare a traditional
Okay.
class.
You mean the material?
Yes, of course, the material. In the flipped classroom, the material is the main focus here of the teacher because teachers spend a long time preparing materials, and it's not the same case. So when they prepare a traditional lesson.
Great. Thank you very much. Can any other one
Pleasure.
share? What is the difference between planning your flipped lesson and planning the traditional lesson?
Hello, Ms. Asmaa.
Hi,
For,
come on.
for the traditional classroom, we reach the learning objectives by the end of the lesson. On the other hand, for a flipped classroom, we start by the learning objectives. It is represented as the beginning of the flipped classroom, other than the traditional classroom.
Okay, we can discuss it later, but we can take another opinion if someone has another opinion.
Okay, Ms. Asma.
Okay, Ms. Amani?
Okay. Yes, I think that in the flipped classroom, procedures, timing, and preparation itself differs greatly from the offline lesson. Because an online time is restricted and the interaction patterns are so different. Also, the material represented here will be different from the offline one. Activities and strategies too.
Yes, I agree with you, Ms. Aman.
Okay.
Maybe her mic is muted.
Yes, she's out of session. I think there's a problem with the connection.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but there is something wrong with my internet connection. Can you hear me well now?
Okay, no problem. Yes. In the chat box, Ms. Shayma said in the flipped learning, we concentrate on assessment, but in the tradition one, we try to fulfill the objectives. Okay? Okay, go ahead.
The session, we will see that the objectives are the main thing in both the flipped classroom and traditional learning.
Hello, Miss Asma.
She's not here.
بحط عليها طوب.
Inshallah, without interruptions again.
Mrs. Asma, shall I share something?
Okay.
Well, uh, in a flipped classroom, students have direct access to the material and the knowledge, whereas in the traditional classroom, the teacher stands in between the material and the students.
Good. That's a good point. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
may I?
sorry?
May I?
Okay, come on.
I guess if you are going to be on virtual classroom, you need to be commanding or mastering the digital tool so you can be able to introduce your lesson in a better way.
Good. Of course. But we will see that we can use things rather than the internet, because I think now there is a debate on whether students have access to the internet that enables them to access the content of the flipped lessons or the flipped classroom. But we will see that we have other options. Okay, we will see this in the session, inshallah. Okay, let's move on to the objectives of this session. Inshallah, by the end of this session, the participants will be able to apply the steps of planning a flipped lesson, will differentiate between the teacher's role in the flipped learning and the traditional learning, and will be able to choose the appropriate materials for each lesson. Okay? Can you hear me well?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. Okay, in a flipped classroom, students engage with lectures or other materials outside of class to prepare for an active learning experience in the classroom. This is the main objective of the flipped classroom. We give the students some materials outside the classroom in order to apply them or have some activities that encourage active learning in the inside the classroom. And the question here, what's the difference between the teacher's role in the both kinds of learning, in the traditional learning and in the flipped learning? Can you think of some differences between the teacher's role here in the traditional learning and in the flipped learning? Do you think is there something different?
Yes, Miss Asma.
Okay.
I think the teacher has the same roles in both learnings, but I think teachers has more an extra role in the flipped classroom, which is preparing the materials. So this is an extra task for teachers to do.
Good. Other participants?
I think the main difference is that in flipped classroom we have got teacher or instructor driven teaching, and in flipped classroom we give more greater role to the students as well.
We give what?
We give a greater role to the students as well.
Good.
We provide them with the resources that they need, and expect them to do their bit as well.
Great. Other participants? Okay. So, sage on the stage. Do you know what's the meaning of this sentence, sage on the stage? The teacher in which kind of learning is sage on the stage? Sage
In the
on,
traditional in the
sorry?
traditional learning format, I believe the teacher will act as a sage on the stage. That means
Great.
he'll play a more passive role in traditional teaching.
Okay, stage on the stage means that the teacher will be something like a lecturer. He is the main focus of the lesson and he is the source of information for the students. But in the flipped learning, the teacher is a guide on the side. He only guides the learning process. He gives the students some material and he gives them some activities and he assists, he monitors. So he is only a guide on the side. So the students will be more responsible for their learning. Please mute your microphone. The first step of planning a lesson in the flipped classroom is to choose a lesson to flip. Choose a lesson to flip. Of course, the teacher is free whether to flip all his lessons or to choose some lessons to give the students some information or some materials to work on them at home and make some activities on these lessons inside the classroom. So choosing a lesson to flip, of course, this step depends on the complexity of the lesson. If the lesson is complex, I think it will need a greater effort from the teacher if he chooses this lesson to be flipped. Because if the lesson is complex, the students will have difficulty in working on it. So when you choose a lesson, please think of the activities you're going to use, think of how complex the lesson is, and if you have enough resources for this lesson. Step 2, deciding how you want to flip. Do you think there is different kinds of flipping the lesson. Do you think there is different kinds of flipping the lesson? Is it always flipping the lesson at home or out of class flipping? Can you give me your opinion?
Yes, Miss Asma.
Okay,
I think there is a complete flipping when students study or watch something at home.
good,
And there is another type of flipping which is inside the classroom, like using science computer lab or using computers to flip the class inside the school.
great. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Anyone want to share?
I think we can decide how much we can flip the content based on the students' levels. If the students are of a preliminary level, we might choose to flip to a lesser extent. And if the students are more mature and if they have achieved a level of mastery, for example, in higher education, we might consider using, greater part flipped. I mean, the
Good.
extent of flipping will depend on the expertise of students as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, how you want to flip the lesson, as our colleagues said, we have in class flipping, as our colleague said, that we can use the computer lab, we can use charts on the walls of the classrooms for some posters or something that the students can see and reflect on, or give some idea about something from these charts or posters. And also there we have out of class flipping. Here, this is the way that we give the students some materials, and the students work on them at home and then come to have some activities in class.
Yes, Miss Asma, Miss Shaima, the chat box said it may happen inside the classroom. For example, when I ask them to read a passage silently, then discuss.
Good. Yes, so this is in class flipping. We call it in class flipping. And if we give them some materials at home, we call it out of class flipping. Okay, so let's move to step 3. Step 3, choosing the context and resources you have. So the first thing is to choose the lesson, then to choose in which context I want to apply this lesson. If, for example, I chose a grammar lesson, so in which context I'm going to present or let the students work on this piece of grammar at home. Also, the resources that I have. Do you think there are certain resources that the teacher can have to give the students to work on? What are the resources or the most popular resources that the teacher can depend on when flipping his lesson?
I think videos the most famous resource for the flipping classroom.
Yes, videos. What else?
I think using EKB, he can use the resources or refer to certain resources related to the syllabus itself or can help in
Mhm.
that, like the EKB.
Okay. Of course, the EKB is one of the new resources that we prepared, and we filled with a lot of information for the students. Not only videos, but we have the idea that the most famous or familiar resource is only videos, but this is not the case. We have other resources that we can use. We have a question here. Was KBE, KEP? We're supposed to say it, KEP is with, which is the Can anybody tell me what is the
Uh,
EKB?
it's Egyptian
Egyptian?
Knowledge Bank.
Yes, EKB. E stands for Egyptian and K for knowledge and B for bank. The Egyptian Knowledge Bank, the EKB. Yes, that's it. So do we have other resources?
Ms. Asma, Ms. Shaima in the chat box said there is no limit for resources, but they
Yes,
can search on internet, surf the internet, YouTube, articles, research, journals, and magazines.
great. These are additional resources, magazines, and websites. We have also some charts we can send to the students, some reading sites we can use to give the students in order to use for working on them at home. Okay, so let's move to step number 4. Step 4, what material you want to flip? What material you want to flip? As we said in the previous step, we have many kinds of materials that we can use to flip our classes. And we said that videos are considered the most famous materials that we can use. But as we said, we have flashcards, we have readings from digital resources and posters and PowerPoint. But do we have limitations for using these materials? Do we have limitations? Who can share? For using videos, for example, are there any limitations for using videos? No?
Yes, I think that timing is an important factor that can affect using these. Okay. Also, the nature of each of them, would that be suitable or not?
Great.
Okay.
Of course.
Also, the content and the learner himself, would they be able to accept the flipping, or can cope up with flipping itself or not?
That's wonderful. So the length of the videos, for example, is one of the things that we have to put in mind, because the elementary levels will not be able to stay watching a video for more than 10 minutes maximum, 15 minutes maximum. People get dull, or they get bored from watching a long video. So you have to think of the objective and think of how you will present this objective, and the level of the students also is a crucial part. We have a message in the chat box. Time, age, content. Great, 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 Shaima. The time, age, and content, these are crucial things that we have to put in mind, and time management, of course. But in this field, the time management, the student at home is responsible for the time when he's ready to watch the video or to work on this material. And this is one of the things that encouraged us to use flipped learning, that the student will be able to watch this or to work on it, on this at his own pace and in his free time. So time management, I think this is not what we aim at, but the time, age, and content of the material is something crucial. Okay. This is what we said. Video content should be concise, no more than 10 to 15 minutes segments, and it can be helpful to students if there are guiding questions or prompts to help them recognize the key objectives of the preparatory work. And using questions and guiding lines when giving a content at home is something very important because it makes the students responsible for their learning. Sometimes when we use some platforms or programs for training online, we always use forms for attendance. So the trainees think that we can know whether they attend the lecture or not. The same for students. We have to make sure that uh, we give them some guidelines or questions to make sure that they are following the video or following the material that we send them. The practice activities. How can I think of the practice activities in the flipped learning or in the flipped lesson? Good.
Yes, yes, Miss Asma.
Okay.
I think the practice activities needs to be differentiated to suit the mixed
Great.
levels of students.
Yes.
And of course, not all the students will uh, um, get the video or the material the same way. So we need differentiated activities.
Great. We need some activities that differentiate between the students. Good.
Yes.
Other opinions? You can give me his opinion also. What do you think of the practice activities? How can I choose the practice activities? We should think of differentiation. What else? Okay. The practice activities should be suitable for the lesson and for the materials that I send the students. They also should be encouraging students to work together and encourage peer working for students to work together in the classroom and encourage communicative outcomes, especially when dealing with the English language. So we should think of some activities that encourage students to participate. Of course, we should think of the level of complexity of the activity. We have a message here, concern on the content that's prepared. Yes, of course, they should be suitable for the content. And as I said, they should encourage students to participate. They should encourage students to work together. Of course, the role of the teacher here will be, who can tell me? What is the role of the teacher during the practice activities?
A guide, a facilitator.
Great.
Yes.
A
Uh,
mentor,
yes.
observer, and I think we all agree that these activities should be corrected in the way that encourages students to participate. Of course, we should have a mix of activities, but we see that if I give the students some content at home to work on and I come to assist their dealing, whether they dealt with this content or not, sometimes they advise us to use multiple choice exercises because this gives them the answers in the exercise, and this gives us an idea whether the students prepare the lesson or watch the content or not. So we have to use different kinds of activities, as you said. Here I have some examples of activities that we can use. Of course, these activities depend on the level of the students. For example, discussions. We can't use this kind of activities with elementary stage, but we can use it with secondary stage discussions and debates. Clicker questions. Here, the clicker questions, we can use it with some exercise that we send the students through the internet. We use programs to make clicker questions such as Kahoot, for example, and demonstration, simulation, and peer tutoring and feedback, and role playing. I think role playing will be most appropriate for the lower age and the elementary stage. Do you agree?
Yes.
Good. And we have to use different kinds of activities. We have not each lesson we will use discussions or debates or no. You know, students like more to use multiple choice questions. So we can use them and other things depending on the objective of the lesson. Step 4, provide a model of how you want students to access this flipped content. Don't assume that all students know how to access the content that you send them. Some students don't have experience using the internet, for example. Some students don't know how to use computers or how to use certain programs. So please give a model and start the content on the computer lab or in the classroom using your mobile phone in order to give the students a chance to know how to use this content or how to get access to this content. Sorry, it's the first time to hear about, sorry, I don't, please. Okay.
Yes, our first session is about
We
to
will
end
have,
right now,
yes, we will
and
have
we will have to access again the following the same link.